Hey everybody, happy Friday. It's good to have you all here with me today. I'm so stoked. I'm going to be talking to you about time management, which is really, really important and a big pain point for a lot of people. So if you would pop into the chat, just let me know where you're coming from or where you are situated in the world. I'd love to know that. And also, I always ask how long, if you are a creative professional, how long have you been in the industry? Or if you're an entrepreneur, how long have you been in business? I'd really like to know that because it helps me kind of adjust how I talk about things to the level of the folks that are here. So just want to make sure I'm coming in loud and clear as well. So if you could also pop into the chat and just say, can see you, can hear you, that's awesome. Tiffany, hey, Tiffany, good to see you. It was good connecting with you on LinkedIn. I'm so glad you made it here and that you popped over from LinkedIn to YouTube. That's cool. In New York City, yes, creative professional, 13 years. New York in the house. I'm an old Brooklyn boy myself, Park Slope, and then made a run for the suburbs of New Jersey, just across the river. And Peter is here, fanboy, yes, awesome. And Black Panther from Baltimore. Cool, need this bad. I know, don't we all? We all really need it bad. And this is one thing that I gotta say, and I'll talk about this a little bit later. It's like no one does this perfectly. It's always something that we all are constantly working at to get better at, because time gets away from us, and it's a tough thing to manage. If you haven't connected with me on social, you'll see the things flash across the bottom of the screen. I'm on Threads, LinkedIn a lot, Facebook a lot. I have a free Facebook group called Brand Design Masters Facebook group, and not on Twitter. Twitter's a bit of a dumpster fire. Instagram, not my total main jam, but Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube are really my things, plus my podcast as well. So if you're not on my email list, I highly recommend that you get on it. And so I will put that up there in just a second. So if you go to philipvandusen.com/muse, M-U-S-E, that's for Brand Muse, which is my newsletter. It comes out about every 2 weeks. You can get on my email list, and it's the best way to know what I'm up to, what I recommend for you, the best news, resources, videos, podcasts, stuff to read to stay up on being a creative professional and doing your best work. So go jump on my email list. That would be really cool. I don't inundate you generally unless I'm trying to launching something, a course or a mastermind group. And so you won't be getting like emails from me absolutely every day, all the time. So check that out. And then if you are interested in any one-on-one attention from me, I do offer coaching for entrepreneurs and creative professionals on an hourly basis. I have discounts for retainers of 10 hours and up. So if you'd like direct attention from me, but then I'm also going to be sharing something really exciting today about how you can interact with me on a very regular basis through my mastermind group. And I will put that up there. If you go to philipvandusen.com/bonfire, BONFIRE, you can read about Bonfire, which is my mastermind group for established creative professionals. So it's generally for people who are mid to late career, not right out of school, not real newbies. And so it's full of great people who are building their personal brands, building their agencies, building their creative practices to get better, do better, get more clients, make more money, all that sort of stuff. So check out philipvandusen.com/bonfire, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little bit later today. Okay? All right. So with that out of the way, let's see. Okay. So you guys ready to jump into it? Thumbs up? Good to go? All right. Let's cut right to the chase. So today we are going to be talking about time management and hacks, such a hackney word, but some real tactics, techniques, things you can do that get real benefits from how to handle your time management. And time management, I did a survey of my email list a year or so ago, and I was super surprised when I asked people what was the biggest thing that they were struggling with. I was always expecting them to say, I want to learn more design, kind of capabilities. I want to get more clients. I want to make more money. I want to, the list goes on, right? The number one thing I heard from people was organization and time management. And I was kind of like, wow, really blown away. But it really is something that we all struggle with and that we're all working on all the time. And the thing about it is that a lot of the SaaS companies think they can throw a SaaS product at us like Notion or Trello or Mondays or Click or, Todoist, ClickUp or Todoist. And the thing is that apps do not make you more productive. Habits make you more productive. Practices make you more productive. And what will work are practices. And so what I'm going to share with you today are a number 10 really cool practices that you can work on to improve your ability to manage your time and to be more productive. And if you do a number of these things, I tell you, magic will happen. Okay, so are you guys ready to jump into it? All right, let's do it. Number one is chronobiology. And if you don't know the term chronobiology has to do with your chronotype. Or your chronotype is basically, are you a morning person? Are you a midday person? Are you an evening person? Are you a late owl? A night owl. And so it's based on trying to be on when you're aligned with your true circadian rhythms, when you are most productive, if you do better in the morning, if you do better in the evening. You want to organize your workday around your body's natural energy peaks, and everybody's different. There was a study done by the National Institute of Health, and it showed that people's focus and their productivity was different at different times of the day. So aligning yourself to the chronotype that you are is really helpful. And you want to align your high focus tasks, the ones that really need your attention and your brain power, to your natural and high energy periods or peaks during the day. I was very fortunate to work as a senior executive at PepsiCo, and the CEO, who I knew, Indra Nui at the time, she's no longer the CEO, she got up at 4 a.m. and she was at work by 7 a.m. I mean, she was a crazy morning person. And, I've heard that Gary Vaynerchuk also gets up at 6 a.m., checks his phone, checks his email, exercises. Here's the hack that I have for you around your chronobiology. Get up at the same time every day and try to go to bed at the same time every day. Try to get anywhere from 7 to 8 hours of sleep, because sleep is also a huge determinant of productivity. Because if you wake up at the same time every day, after about 6 weeks of doing that, you won't even need an alarm clock anymore. Basically, your body will start to get you up at that time. And I'll give you a perfect example. About a year and a half ago, I started working out every single day, and I was waking up at about 4:50 or 5 a.m. every day and going to the gym. And after about 6 weeks, I basically started to wake up at 4:50, in the middle of the dark, right? Before the birds start chirping, every single day. Like, I would wake up a minute before my alarm went off, and then I just stopped using my alarm because I didn't need it. So that's your hack. Wake up at the same time every day, but then also, really kind of look inside yourself and look at your history of where you found that you're most productive, and try to align your schedule with your productivity if you can, if at all possible. All right, I'm going to take that coaching thing off there. And oops, jumped ahead. Okay, number two. Number two is you want to set boundaries. You want to set boundaries and just say no more often. You want to define your work hours. Be really clear about when you're going to be working and when you're not. And you want to protect those work hours where you are most creative, which aligns with your chronobiology a lot. and to set very clear boundaries. Stanford University, here's a proof point. Stanford University did a research project and found that people who work more than 50 hours a week see a sharp decline in their productivity. So being more focused and setting boundaries around your work time can actually make you more productive. Who knew, right? You think that if I work 80 hours a week, I'm going to get 80 hours of work done. The thing is that it actually starts to decrease and degrade after about 50 hours a week. You also want to try to say no to non-essential tasks, non-essential clients, non-essential opportunities that come your way through email. Again, this happens to me a whole lot. I get asked on a whole lot of podcasts and to do a whole lot of YouTube sponsorships and things like that, and very low-hanging, clients who aren't qualified essentially to work with my agency. And so we have to learn how to say no more often and to say yes more slowly. So I'm going to say that again. You want to say no more often and yes more slowly. Take your time before you say yes to stuff. This protects your time, it protects your energy for your high impact work and keeps you focused towards goals that really matter. And I'm going to talk about the Eisenhower matrix in a few minutes, which is a decision-making matrix that can really help you out in terms of prioritizing what it is that you do. Oh, by the way, if you have a question as I go through this presentation, just type question in all caps, because that really helps me if we get a lot of chat going on, that at the end, when I take questions, I can scroll through the chat on my end really quickly and see where the questions are. Otherwise, it's a little difficult for me to see. So type question in all caps before your question. And you want to strive to be more proactive and less reactive. Again, I'm going to say that again. You want to be more proactive and less reactive. Reactive is where people are pulling you in a million different directions. Your email is pulling you. These low-hanging opportunities that don't make any difference to you are pulling you. These clients who are not qualified to work with you are pulling you. And so you want to try to be really proactive and direct your own time. You own you. Don't let other people own you. Don't let other people drive your calendar, drive your time. You want to try to be proactive in planning and setting your boundaries and saying no more often and yes more slowly. The benefit of this is, and there's a couple really key benefits to this, which are important to mention, which is that when you do that, when you set boundaries, people will respect you more for having discipline rather than jumping at every kind of every ask that people have of you. You will come across as being more professional, and that will also translate to being deemed as more valuable, or you are in higher regard, or you are more in demand, and people will respect you for that. So setting boundaries can have multiple effects. All right, we're going to move on now. The next one, number 3, is time audits. Now, there's a SaaS company that has a time tracking product, and that company is called Rescue Time. And they did a study that shows that professionals spend an average of 3 hours daily on distractions like social media. And I'm not perfect, like I said at the beginning of this presentation. And I spend way too much time on social media. I get sucked into what I like to call the pinhole, which is Pinterest and scrolling unendingly, or on Instagram, or on, doom scrolling Twitter, whatever that is. That sort of time is time that you can capture and you can use in a better way. Yes, everyone has to kind of keep up on social media, of course, but maybe set a timer for yourself so you're not sucked in and that time, that time disappears for you. The thing about time audits is essentially like when you're working with a client and you do a competitive audit, you do an audit of their competition, so you can advise that client or help direct them in their creative services that you offer with the knowledge of who they're competing against, right? So in terms of time management and productivity, you can't fix a problem that you don't understand, meaning you want to do an audit of your own time, Okay, there's this great SaaS product, and I know I said SaaS products don't solve anything, but there are tools that you can use that can really help. One of them is called Toggle, Toggl. And its free version is incredibly full of incredible functionality, and chances are you won't even need anything more than that. But you can use Toggle to actually track your time. And I recommend that for 2 weeks, you track your time, every single thing that you do, and you categorize it as you're entering it on Toggle about what that is, whether it's client work, answering email, whether it's administrative duties or financial duties, or whether you're having meetings with clients, or whether you're working out, or whether you're having lunch, or whether you're taking a break. Like, really track absolutely everything over a period of 2 weeks. And then the cool thing about Toggle is that if you set yourself up as a client, you can put out a report at the end of that period of time, and it will categorize and add up the hours in each of those categories that you've established and tell you how long you've been spending on these things. And it can be really, really illuminating, and to help you really understand where you are spending your time. And that can help you have a better understanding, so you can do a better job of evaluating and really making clear decisions around what you're going to be devoting your time to. There are apps like, as I said, Toggle. There's an app called Clockify. There's the other app I just mentioned called Time Rescue, where you can kind of track and analyze your time usage. And then categorize your activities, print out a report at the end of a couple weeks, and really try to understand where your time wasters are. And the other cool thing about Toggle, which is why it's one of the apps that I recommend, and I'm not getting paid by Toggle, I should, because I mention them so often. But one of the things about Toggle is that it's really great for tracking client work. So if you're working on a client project that has multiple phases, or you're working on a client project for periods of time over a number of weeks, it's a really great app to track your hours for working on client work, so you can understand how long you're spending on a particular project, which can help you price your projects better. And I use it also to track consulting hours. I use it to track coaching hours. It's a really cool app, Toggl. Okay? All right, we're moving on. Number four is time blocking, in particular for creativity. Okay? So you want to time block, and that is block out times on your calendar to do your deep work on your creative tasks. And this should align with your chronobiology, right? The times when you are most productive, or most focused, or have the most creative energy, you want to time block around those times. Another great study, the American Psychological Association did a study that showed that multitasking can reduce your productivity up to 40%. That is an astounding statistic. Trying to multitask, and it's really hard to focus, we all know that, but trying to multitask can reduce your productivity by 40%. That's massive. And then there was a book by a guy named Cal Newport called Deep Work. You might have heard of it. For his book, he did some research that showed that uninterrupted time blocks are essential for creative success. So getting into large blocks of time where you can really get into the zone and disappear into your creative work at the peak times of your capabilities is one of those things that can really move the ball forward in terms of your effectiveness as a creative professional, or as any business person. Now, I personally use Google Calendar. I have a tab when I start up Google Chrome, 3 tabs open: my to-do list, my Drive, and Google Calendar. So Google Calendar is always open as a tab on my browser, and I use that to schedule meetings, to do repeat meetings. I use it for tasks, lists. It's really amazing and obviously free. And I also keep multiple calendars. So I have a personal calendar, I have a calendar I share with my wife, and I also have a business calendar. And you can turn those, the visibility of those, on and off depending on what you want to look at that day. Here's the big hack in this. The hack is schedule everything. I have a saying that says, if it's not scheduled, it doesn't get done. And this goes right along with time blocking, is that put everything on your calendar. So plan out your week. On Monday, and all your client work. I have lunch as a standing meeting in my day. So waking up, exercise, meditation, any travel time, in real life events, your meetings, your to-dos, your personal tasks, your break time, your socializing time, your social media, kind of scrolling time, your lunch time, all your breaks. Put it all on your calendar. Again, if it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. And so after you do your audit and understand what you're using your time for, start setting up your week in time blocks. And then pay really close attention if you are spending less time on things that you thought you were, or you're spending more time on things that you thought you were. It'll help you adjust those time blocks as you go on, and they'll get more and more accurate over time. Here's the other really cool benefit of that. The other cool benefit of that is that when you do that over time and you have all of your meetings and all of your time blocked on Google Calendar, it acts as a business diary. So it basically acts as a list of your accomplishments during the week, what you were able to focus on. And as you're time blocking, look, I'm going to be realistic, right? It would be lovely if we start off our week and we time blocked our whole week and then we worked those time blocks and nothing ever changes. I know that's absolutely unrealistic. But what you do during the week is when you're going through the day, you suddenly have a fire that you need to put out, right, in your business. Some client needs something and you got to crank something out in 2 hours. Change your calendar. Change those time blocks on your Google Calendar about what it was that you were actually doing. Because then as you go back and look at your calendar over time, you can get, again, a much clearer picture of how you're spending your time, and it helps you plan as you go forward and have a better understanding of what you're doing. All right. Number 5. Number 5 is the Eisenhower matrix. Dwight D. Eisenhower, the Supreme Commander of World War II, was really, really great about prioritizing things. And he developed a prioritizing system, but this system was actually it was kind of publicized and popularized by a guy named Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, one of the most important business books ever, I think. And it kind of aligns with the Pareto principle. And the Pareto principle you might have heard of. It's also known as the 80-20 rule, which is that 20% of tasks generate 80% of your results. So very little of your work, 20% of your actual work, will actually deliver most of the results that actually mean anything. And so prioritizing your tasks by meaning and importance. Here's the Eisenhower matrix. You want to prioritize your tasks by meaning of urgency and importance. And you use this 4-quadrant kind of method to do that. And while you're doing that, it'll help you manage your urgent tasks more effectively. So you lay out the things that you need to do, but you place them in one of these 4 boxes. Either it's urgent and important, and that you're going to do immediately. It could be important but not urgent, and that you're going to schedule for later. It could be urgent and not important, and that is, if you can, you should delegate it, or it should come behind the important but not urgents. And then if it's not urgent and not important, you want to eliminate it or absolutely minimize it as much as you possibly can. And dropping your to-do list into this matrix can really help you make decisions around what your tasks are, because this is the hardest part about being productive. Most of being productive and managing your time is being able to really prioritize what your list is. What is the most important thing to do? And I got to say, this is actually the toughest thing for me too, because a lot of the times I have a hard time really understanding if something is, it may feel really urgent, but then when I really think about it and really dig into it, I'm realizing that it's not having the deepest meaningful effect on my bottom line of my business. And so I will reevaluate where it's going to fall in terms of priority. And so this is a great tool, again, like time blocking, to understand what it is that you're doing. This is a great tool to use to understand how to judge and prioritize what are the things that are on your plate. Okay, moving forward. Number six. Number six is what I like to call the one big rock. Now, I personally never get as much done during the day as I would like to get done. I am always overly optimistic about my level of productivity. And maybe that's because I'm just ambitious and I just really want to get more done than I can. But sometimes what I end up doing is, like I said, in terms of prioritization, I end up kind of noodling. I end up doing busy work or lots of little things because I can check off a whole bunch of little things on my to-do list and it makes me feel like I've accomplished a bunch of stuff. But then when you think about it in terms of Pareto principle, all those little teeny things are not that 20% of the work that's going to contribute to the 80% of my meaningful output. And so I've had to really kind of relook at how I manage my to-do list. Tim Ferriss, in his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, which I highly recommend that you read if you haven't, he recommends spending 1 to 2 hours the very first thing when you start your day on what he calls the one big thing. And that one big thing is, if you did this one thing, if you worked on this one thing for an hour or 2 hours at the beginning of the day and you made some progress on it, if your whole rest of your day went south, if something came up and you didn't work the rest of the day or you couldn't work the rest of the day, would you feel like your day was a success? That is the one big thing. That is the big rock. So starting your day, before you open your email, before you start doing social, before you do anything, start with an hour to 2 hours of deep work on that one big thing, that if you got some progress on it, you would feel like your day was a success. And I tell you, when I started doing this, it was a game changer for me, because really when by 10 o'clock in the morning, I was like, man, I really cranked on that. And then when the fires start happening and the emails start rolling in and my attention starts getting pulled into a million different directions, I still can feel a sense of accomplishment for that day. And that's something that, over time gives you a deeper sense of accomplishment in your business, and you don't feel as scatterbrained about stuff. So that is the one big rock. Number 7 is mindfulness. And mindfulness and meditation for focus, okay? So I would encourage you to develop some sort of mindfulness practice to improve your focus and to reduce stress. Harvard Medical School, no slouch in terms of an organization, they did a study and it showed that meditation can increase your brain's gray matter, like I'm talking hard goods, like gray matter, and improve your decision-making and your concentration. So it may sound very woo-woo, but when it comes down to it, meditation and mindfulness can be incredibly important in terms of your productivity. There are great apps for this. Like I said, apps don't fix everything, but there are cool apps for this. One is Headspace. Another one is Calm, which is super popular. They're really great tools to learn and how to start to incorporate mindfulness into your daily routine. They have alerts and notifications that kind of keep it top of mind for you. And the other thing that I find super important on top of mindfulness and meditation, and I actually group all these things together, and that is exercise. For me, I exercise every day, and it really helps center me physically, and it has an incredible impact on me mentally in terms of my mental positivity. And both exercise and meditation produce endorphins, and endorphins still feel good, right? So the benefit of this is that you're going to feel good about yourself. And when we don't feel good about our time management and we don't feel good about our productivity, we feel bad about ourselves. So mindfulness and meditation and exercise can really help you feel good about yourself because you are prioritizing self-care. And that will translate to a better understanding and a better management of your time and how you are prioritizing and how you are working. My hack for this is that I do it the first thing every day. So I work out the very first thing every day. By the end of the day or midday, I don't have the energy or the motivation to go to the gym anymore. It's just like, I want to go home. I want to make dinner. I want to like chill with my wife. And so if you do it first, whether that is meditation, mindfulness, exercise, whatever it is that you do for yourself to build some sort of a practice, you don't have to worry about doing it later when you may be tired or where you may have less time, or as I said, like when your day goes south. Number 8 is templates and shortcuts. This is a really tactical one. Think about all of the repetitive tasks that you do. Every repetitive task that you do should be templated or shortcutted in some sort of way. I write a ton of emails, right? So I write emails about inviting people to my podcast, about responding to podcast invitations, about coaching, about inquiries about consulting or inquiries about branding or strategy or design, about getting emails from people who want feedback on their portfolios. I write, every time I write an email, and I've found that I've written it 2 or 3 times, I save it as a template. I have a folder with probably 45 to 50 email templates that address almost all of the kind of key repetitive communication email exchanges that I have in my business every day. And while, you can't just like plop in a template and then like hit send, you have to personalize to a certain extent, but it really, really saves a tremendous amount of time in terms of you being able to process the communications in your business. You can also develop templates for the things that have to do with your creative practice. So that could be, I have templates for proposals. I have templates for presentations. I have templates for brand strategy projects. So I have a blank template with all the different brand strategy tools that I offer in it. And then depending on the engagement, I will have them all. I'll have a few, whatever that project looks like. I have templates for brand voice presentations and decks. I have templates for design explorations in Adobe Illustrator. I have templates for brand guidelines in Keynote. I have templates for speaking notes for live streams for YouTube. I have templates for in Logic Pro for editing my podcast. I have templates in Photoshop for doing YouTube thumbnails. I have templates in Canva for doing LinkedIn carousels. It just goes on and on and on. So anything that you are doing, social media posts, anything having to do with your business, template it so you're not starting from scratch on any of these things. Here's a really cool hack that I do, and it doesn't sound like much, but it A, keeps me super organized, and B, it's really helpful. I have a folder that's a new client folder, and inside of it are multiple other folders like client communication, photo assets, strategy, design, all of these things, templates, everything that has to do, every folder that you are always creating inside of a client folder, video, right? Audio, meeting notes, whatever it is that you're constantly creating a folder for inside of a client folder, create a mock client folder that has all of the subfolders inside of it that are empty and blank. And then when you get a new client, all you have to do is duplicate that folder with all its subfolders and name it, and you're ready to go. That sort of thing. Anything that you find yourself doing twice. The other cool thing about that is that every client folder I have is organized in exactly the same way. So I can find exactly what it is that I'm looking for, and we all know that as creative professionals, and we're not the greatest at managing our hard drives. So that's a really cool hack. And another one that I do, like I told you a second ago, is that I have startup tabs in Google Chrome. So whenever I launch Chrome, a number of tabs open for me automatically. So I'm not opening things every time I open Chrome. And then, Adobe Creative Suite and Canva and Figma, all of these, the done with you design programs have templates in it for designers. And so if you're needing a template and you haven't created one yet, go to one of those and actually search around. You'd actually be super surprised what there is available. Even in the Google Business Suite, you can get templates for CRMs. You can get templates for financial stuff. I mean, it's amazing how many, and kind of Google Sheets sort of record keeping things. There are tons and tons of templates out there for just about every software product that you use. All right. Number 9. Number 9 is work on a deadline. This one's really important because have you ever noticed that when you work on something, you will work on it for the time that you have allotted for it. So your work will expand to fill the time that you have allotted for it. So let's say you're going to say to yourself, I'm going to work on a logo today, and I'm going to give myself 8 hours to work on the logo. And then you work, you noodle, you're wandering all over the place, you're finding the perfect font and the perfect color and blah, blah, blah. You may develop that logo within 8 hours. But if you said to yourself, I have to crank out this logo in 3 hours, and you gave yourself that period of time, my guess is you would come out on the other end of that 3 hours in the same place that you came out on the other end of that 8 hours. The work that you do will expand to fill the time that you allot for it. When I say work on a deadline, what I recommend that you do is work like a journalist. Work like the newspaper is going to go to press, right? And you got to write the article and it's going to go to the printer. So give yourself a deadline. And this aligns really closely with the idea of time blocking on your calendar. And Toggle, again, is a really great app for this because as you're working, you can time yourself in your working, or you can say, I'm going to work on this for 2 hours and start Toggle. It doesn't have an alarm to it. I always just generally set an alarm on my phone, but it's a great way to track your time. And so another hack that you can do is basically make plans at the end of the day that you have to do. You have to leave work at a specific period of time. Say you had Broadway tickets or you were going to a show or a concert and you said, hey, tonight I got to go. Sorry, closing up shop. Plan things at the end of the day that give you a deadline. Give yourself a hard deadline where you have to stop. And then, and another kind of way to approach it is in time blocking, where you have time block your calendar. This is an important one, especially when you're learning time blocking in the beginning, which is time block out your calendar. And when you come to the end of that time block for whatever it is that you allocated it for, 2 hours for design, whatever that is, you have to stop and you have to switch to the next time block thing. So what this does is it forces you to know that you have a deadline to meet, or you're going to make significant impact in this period of time. And over time, the benefit of this is you'll get better at estimating actually how long things take. But setting deadlines for yourself is a really great motivational tool. Ask any journalist. Whoop. And then number 10 is deep work, or as I like to call it, kill the squirrels. Multitasking, as I said earlier in the presentation, is an absolute myth. And you want to turn off your desktop notifications. Turn off the pings, turn off the banners, turn off the alerts, mute your phone, close your door, close all those browser tabs. If you're in an office with other people, use headphones. Cordon off yourself. You want to kill all the notifications, all the distractions. It's a lot like meditation. We all know that when you meditate, well, if you haven't meditated, maybe you don't know, but for those of us who have or do, you know that you can't stop your mind. Your mind will always want to be chewing on something. So even the best meditators know this. You may get into the zone of meditation, but before you know it, you kind of are aware of the fact that you're thinking about getting your tires replaced on your car, or you're thinking about the fact that you have to mow the lawn. And then when you notice that happening, you're kind to yourself and you pull yourself back in and you try to quiet your mind again. It's the same thing with notifications. It's like when you get distracted, when you find you're suddenly like scrolling Pinterest, or you're suddenly, before you know it, you were answering emails when you were trying to work on a design. That is the sort of thing that I want you to pay attention to. You want to recognize that you were distracted, that you were pulled away, be kind to yourself, and pull yourself back in. It's like a muscle. The more you get acquainted with that kind of process, the better it is you're going to be. Just like meditation. Like when you first start meditating, your mind's going to be going away every 10 seconds, every 15 seconds. But as you get better and better at it, you can spend minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, where you are really kind of quietly focused. You get better at recognizing also when you need to take breaks, because when your brain goes off into a lot of different places, you may just need to take a break. You may just need to let your brain go and bubble because the brain needs to do that. But this is the method. You want to cut off notifications, you want to kill the squirrels, and then when you do get pulled away by some sort of distraction, refocus, bring yourself back in, get refocused. Okay, so that is what I wanted to share with you today. One of the bonuses, I have a bonus. The bonus is that you really don't have to do this alone. It's really hard sometimes to change these sorts of habits unless you have someone to check in with, or a group of peers or colleagues where you're sharing your efforts, your failures, your challenges, hearing what other people are doing on a regular basis, because that's how you develop really good practices. And so it really helps to have a community, to have regular check-ins, to have peers to discuss wins and setbacks. And a mastermind community can really help with that. And I have a mastermind community for established creative professionals called BONFIRE. And in that group, we have creative professionals who are working with each other, getting group coaching and mentoring from me, but also sharing goals, accountability with each other as they build their businesses and their practices. And BONFIRE is a really great place to work on your time management and your productivity. And let me tell you just a little bit about BONFIRE. So in BONFIRE, it's mentorship and coaching. You get an instant when you join overnight peer network, which will be amazing. And it would take you months and months and months to build something like this. When you walk in the door, you got it. Like I said, goal setting and accountability, a feedback loop where you can get feedback on your work or your projects or your goals. You can just get much more confidence until you're in your decision making about what you're doing. And you can also develop and engage in partnerships with other people in the group and make progress faster. Here's a quote from a guy named Zach who's in BONFIRE right now. And he said, "BONFIRE helped me build my personal brand online and gave me the kick needed to start putting myself out there without fear of failure or judgment." And before he knew it, and this happened just recently, he landed a full-time role teaching designers at the university level, which is something that he really hadn't been thinking about doing, but it was an opportunity that came across his plate, and he was able to break through that imposter syndrome and put himself into this work, and he ended up getting this teaching role. It was absolutely amazing for him. So when it comes down to it, when you're thinking about how you're going to improve your business and yourself, you have three options. You have the first one, which is do what you've always done and get what you always got, right? That's, we know where that's going to go. The second option is you can try to improve your business and your network completely on your own. You can go to a conference, you can try to meet a bunch of people, you can try to stay in touch with them, you can try to, get them all on Zoom and establish some sort of schedule. The incredible amount of time and energy and expense that requires. Or you could do something really simple, like join BONFIRE, my mastermind group. Here's another quote from Ann K., who was a member of BONFIRE. So she said, "After I was laid off, I was at a crossroads. After joining BONFIRE, within months, I landed an incredible creative leadership role." So if you're a creative pro navigating a career transition, and I know a lot of you guys are, I cannot recommend this community enough. Another great vote of confidence. And so what does BONFIRE look like? We meet on Zoom a number of times a month. They're kind of intimate Zoom meetings where we go through a mastermind process. And I have a number of videos on what masterminds are like. But what happens in BONFIRE, and we call it not being a member of BONFIRE, but you are an ember of BONFIRE. Get it? Right? It includes group coaching from me. We meet twice a month on Zoom for mastermind sessions. We also have a once a month Zoom session, which is office hours, which is basically you get free hour access to me to ask questions, get coaching, whatever it is that you want. It sometimes also turns into a thematic discussion amongst the group. And then we also, one time a month, we meet and have a visiting expert who comes and teaches on their particular expertise. All of the sessions are recorded, so if you miss a session, you can go back and watch them. There's a private online community on the Circle platform, so it's completely gated. It has different spaces and rooms and chats and places where you can download assets or look at playlists. And there's a really cool success map, which I've built called the FIRE Milestone Success Map, which helps you kind of ideate where you are in your business building journey and helps it make very clear for you what are the steps that you need to take to grow and build what you need to build. There's also a huge resource library of tools and downloads and templates and checklists and Google Sheets and stuff like that you can just download and take for yourself. Over 75 at this point. Plus playlists of trainings and videos. You get super discounted access to my key brand strategy course, Brand Strategy 101. And like I said, you also get incredible feedback from your peers. Here's another quote from Joselle T, who said, "I came in with 3 clients and in 12 weeks I had 10. And one of them even came from inside the group. It was really amazing." Membership in Bonfire is $97 a month. If you think about going to a conference and hotel and travel, and it's going to, that's going to cost you $3,000, right? You could join Bonfire for 3 years for that. And so the membership price is an investment in the growth of your business. And it's a very realistic investment to make. Here's another quote from Sonia P. Sonia said, "I had goals of building and communicating my brand, but I was struggling with how to do it. Now I've got a new perspective and more confidence because I can bounce ideas off peers that I can trust." And that's what a lot of us don't have day to day, is peers that we can really trust because we know they're accomplished. We know they're doing what we want to be doing and have been successful at it. And they can give us real trustworthy advice. Here's another quote from Mark L. And Mark is a very accomplished New York designer. And he said, "The industry has changed so much that my career kind of plateaued." And I hear that from a lot of people. And he said, "And then a lightning bolt struck me and I came across Bonfire and I suddenly realized I had to change things to get different results." And Mark, in the period of time he's been in Bonfire, has seen significant results in his agency business and is partnering very closely with another member in Bonfire to build a new offering. So as I said, Bonfire is on the Circle platform. There's a gated community that has chat and announcements and downloads and all that sort of stuff that you might find in a super functional Facebook group, but it's a private kind of community, and it looks kind of like this. This is the kind of aesthetic of it. And like I said, there's over 75 tools and resources and worksheets. This is actually just a Google sheet of the list of all of them, which it makes it really easy to kind of click into and get to them directly. Another quote from Stephanie C. said, "I would have done it sooner if I'd known the massive effect it would have on my business. I didn't realize how much I was missing." And that's what I hear time and time again from Bonfire folks who haven't been in a mastermind before and have no idea. They kind of coming into it, they didn't have a super clear idea of what a mastermind did or was. And when they did come in, they were just kind of completely blown away that they'd never known about anything like this before, and they'd wished they'd found it years and years ago. So the base level membership of Bonfire, like I said, paid quarterly, is $97 a month. There's also a level called the Guild level, which is a higher level of touch where you get direct one-on-one coaching with me every month, and that's $297 a month. There's also a mentorship level where I am your direct mentor and you get multiple one-on-one sessions with me throughout the year, and you also get an in-person meeting with me once a year as well. And that's $997 a month for people who really want to mentor with me directly. And so if you're curious, check out Bonfire at philipvandusen.com/bonfire. There's a lot of testimonial videos at the bottom of the page. It kind of really outlines what Bonfire is about. And if you have any questions about Bonfire, join my email list. Go to philipvandusen.com/muse. After you get your very first email from me, just hit reply. It's going to come to me personally and say, hey, I'm kind of interested in Bonfire. I'd really like to learn more about it. And if you are seriously interested in Bonfire, I'd be happy to have a very quick 15-minute Zoom with you to help you understand what it is, hear about your business, and help you make the decision that's right for you in terms of whether it would be a good investment for your business. Okay, so with that, I'm just going to leave that up on the screen. Actually, I'm going to take that off the screen, and I'm going to put the cool animated GIF one up. So if you have any questions, I'm going to blow back through a number of the questions here that are in the chat and take some Q&A. So if you guys are still hanging with me, I will answer these questions. All right. Tiffany asks, do you have an opinion on allowing yourself to scroll through social platforms, but creating an algorithm that is more beneficial, using platforms as research tools versus mindless habit? Do I have an opinion on allowing yourself to scroll through social platforms, but creating an algorithm? If you mean an algorithm in your brain, yes. I mean, we all have to use social media. That's a reality of business. The thing that I do in order to keep myself from going into the pinhole or the Twitter hole or the Instagram hole or any of those holes, when I'm actually supposed to be doing a bit of research, is I set a timer. You know, if I'm trying to solve a particular problem, it may be a 10-minute timer. It could be a half-hour timer if I'm doing competitive research. I set timers. There are a lot of timer apps for OS on the desktop that can help time your activity online. There are even plugins for Chrome that you can set on a timer, and it will actually dim your screen and cut you out of Chrome or dim your screen on your computer after a period of time. So that's how I manage it. It's one of those fluid things that you really have to kind of establish a sense of discipline within yourself. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. Then Tiffany asked another question. Are there current platforms you recommend researching, studying regarding the current needs of the professional creative industry? The current needs of the creative professional industry. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, Tiffany, and you could always shoot me a question or clarify that. We're now connected on LinkedIn, so you could shoot me that there. But in terms of platforms, I find that some of the AIGA has good forums. The Design Management Institute, which is kind of expensive to join, but they do as well. LinkedIn, there are tons and tons of really good forums for creative professionals that are very active. I have a free Facebook group. I'll actually take this off and put this up. If you join Brand Design Masters, if you go to facebook.com/groups/Brand Design Masters, that's a free Facebook group that I have that's full of about 8,000 creative professionals who are sharing their work with each other, asking questions, and giving each other feedback. I hope that helps. And if it doesn't, shoot me a DM on LinkedIn. All right. Now, Laura has a question. How many apps do you have in general for time management or calendar management? I really use the timer on my phone, I use Google Calendar, and I use Toggle. Those are my three go-to apps. Toggle is amazing because I can use it for timing myself, but I can also use it for timing client work and can also use it for reporting on client work. And the reporting mechanism within Toggle is really, really handy. I don't use a whole ton of things. Some people, live and die by productivity apps like, Todoist and Monday.com and Notion and stuff like that, or And I just find those SaaS products to be really cumbersome. I'm kind of old school in that way. I keep my prioritized to-do list on a Google Sheet, which I have open in my browser all day long. And so I kind of keep things simple in terms of that. So my answer is 3. And Isabel actually happens to be in Bonfire, and she said Bonfire is awesome. It helped me a lot with my career development, and the creatives that are part of the community are great. I'm really glad I met them. And we're really glad to have you in the group. Sean asks, concerning multitasking, is it realistic to build a side hustle around my digital communications background while maintaining a management level communications career? Feels out of reach. I'm going to say it's not, Sean. I think that one of the drums that I beat all of the time is that you have a management level communications career, right? But the creative industry is incredibly ageist. You look from your photo like a fairly young man, but the reality is that you really need to develop some sort of alternate skill set or side hustle or something that you're passionate about and curious about and constantly learning about that will be something that you can leverage later in your career if it's not right now because you're full-time employed. This is what I like to call, and I mentioned this on a live stream that I did with the staffing firm Aquint recently. They had me on to talk about personal branding. It's developing personal agency. And that is control over your own career. You do not want your employer to have complete and utter control over your own career and what you're focusing on and what you're learning. You want to make sure that you're pushing and developing as much of a, what I like to call a V-shaped skill set. So you're not only deeply knowledgeable in one thing, you have a range of things that you're knowledgeable in. Because down the line in your career, those are the sorts of skill sets that are going to really help you make the jump to the next thing that you want to do. So I would definitely build a side hustle, or at least really educate yourself and get deeply involved in digital communications. So I would recommend that you do that, Sean. Okay, so you guys, that was it. And we hit it right on the hourly button, just about. It was really, really cool talking to you guys today. This is my funky outro music. And I hope you really learned something about time management and productivity today. I hope I was able to give you a few hacks in the 10 hacks that I shared with you today. There are some really, really powerful things in there, and I hope I was able to share a lot of my personal experience and the experience of my colleagues and give you some tools that will hopefully help you tackle this very, very pervasive problem that a lot of creative professionals experience. It is the number one thing, as I said, of the 10,000 creative professionals on my email list that they are having trouble with. So if you are having trouble with it, you are not alone. Just know that. You're not alone. Don't beat yourself up. Just try to pick one of these things and start experimenting with it. The first thing I would experiment with, if I were you, is I would do that time audit. I would track how you're spending all of your time over the next 2 weeks. Just download Toggle, set it up so you have maybe 10 or 15 categories of the things that you generally do, and then time yourself all throughout the day, and then spit out a report after 2 weeks and look at it. And I think that you'll be surprised. And that will also really give you some help to how to kind of approach whether you're doing time blocking, how you're cordoning off your prioritization of your time, what you're saying no to, what you're saying yes to, etc. So with that, it's been awesome, you guys. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'm going live a lot over the next 2 or 3 weeks. And so if you enjoyed this, do me a favor. Take my channel. It's YouTube. They took a part of the URL out. So it's youtube.com/PhilipVanDusen/live or /PhilipVanDusen, which is my channel. And share my channel with somebody else, someone you think could get value out of what it is that I'm sharing. I really appreciate your support and your helping me reach more people and help more people. And again, if you're interested in Bonfire, in my mastermind community for creative professionals, go to philipvandusen.com/bonfire and check it out. And if you have any questions, join my email list, philipvandusen.com/muse, MUSE. When you get your first welcome email, hit reply, ask me the question that you want to ask me. Okay? So that's it, you guys. I really appreciate your time. I hope you had fun. Hope you learned something. Hope you have a great weekend. And I hope you've been safe on this wonderful Friday the 13th. All right, you guys. Take care. Good to see you.